15-year-old male, weight about 90 pounds. Chief complaint and circumstances. He was riding his bicycle and was hit by a vehicle. He was riding his bicycle, was hit by a vehicle. At this time, what we have is possible broken wrist. We have deformity of the left wrist. We have abrasions, bilateral, both knees, abrasions on the right elbow.
This is Paramedic 27. We're currently about facility code 2. On board, I have a 2-year-old who ingested approximately 1 to 2 cc's of gasoline. She also has it on her body. So at this time, on board, we have an alert. This is a 2-year-old male weighing approximately 35 pounds. And mild distress at this time. Prior to our arrival, patient had was described as a seizure, as chronic movement, as eyes rolled back. And he was unresponsive. Our mother called 911. We found him. He was very hot. I pulled him down, and he
we have a 65-year-old female, 65-year-old female. We found patient she was in the process this morning of loading her car to go on a vacation. We found her pulse was apneic with 2-man CPR in progress upon our arrival.
Yard. Got a 27-year-old male who was apparently working on his car a short time ago underneath the car. When the jack apparently, for some reason or other, left the car, it was jacked up and it went down on top of the patient. He was working underneath it. Primarily weight ended up on the patient's chest and face. He was under the car for approximately 1 minute.
Is a victim of an ear drowning and patient's father. Patient number 1 is a 2.5-year-old male and fell into the water down at our marina and was submerged for 30 to 45 seconds. His father went in after him and was able to get him and brought him up to the surface. At that time, he immediately began coughing.
Emergency rooms are open 24 hours a day. Paramedics are dispatched hourly to calls for help around the county and around the state. I don't know about you, but I don't pay too much attention as I pass by an ambulance on the road. But someday the person being transported will be someone I know, someone I work with, a friend of mine, or a member of my family. When the time comes, and it will, when you are the first person to witness an accident or come across an injured person or a member of your family becomes ill, be prepared to provide first aid and CPR if necessary. The good work you do will assist the paramedics when they arrive, and more importantly, will give the patient a better chance of survival. I'm going to show you some statistics about injuries in this country, and we have a few scenarios to test your knowledge of first aid and give you some basic concepts of first aid training. We want everyone in the county, or at least the 9th grade at Vintage High School, to be prepared to provide first aid to an injured person and save a life. Need the lights on. In the county of Napa in 1990, there were 980 injury accidents involving automobiles. 15 of those resulted in a fatality. There were 1,497 people injured on roadways in Napa County in 1990, including automobile accidents, motorcycles, bicycles, and pedestrians. 16 of those resulted in a fatality. In April of 1993, there were 2,940 visits to the emergency room at the Queen of the Valley Hospital. If divided equally over time, that would translate to 100 visits per day, or 1 emergency room visit every 15 minutes. In nearly all emergencies, the first person on the scene is not a paramedic or a doctor. Each year, more than 140,000 Americans die from injuries, including accidents, suicides, and homicides. Each year, 1 person in 3 suffers a non-fatal injury. Preceded by heart disease, cancer, and stroke, injury is the 4th leading cause of death among all Americans. 1 of every 8 hospital beds is occupied by an injured patient. Every year, more than 80,000 Americans suffer unnecessary but permanently disabling injuries of the brain or spinal cord. Injury is the leading reason for physician contacts. More than 25% of hospital emergency room visits are for the treatment of injuries. Now, let's look at a few scenarios to see how well you are prepared to assist in an emergency. Don't let this bed be filled unnecessarily with someone you care about.
Here's a high school football game, and it's a pretty common place in the fall. This child's unconscious. If you're the first person to arrive on the scene, what's the first initial reaction you should take? Please raise your hand when you get to the answer that you would choose. Would it be A, run to the nearest phone to call an ambulance? B, find the child's mother or father? C, try to wake up the boy? Or D, do a primary survey of the victim? You were jogging through Fuller Park and you came across this man unconscious on the grass. No one else is around. What should you do? A, hope that he's just taken a nap and keep jogging so you don't ruin your workout. B, keep running to the nearest phone and call 911. C, run to the next person you see and ask them to go and check the man. Or D, stop and do a primary survey of the victim. Do you know what the correct answer to the last two questions are? The primary survey is the first thing a rescuer must do when beginning first aid. The primary survey covers the following areas. A, is the airway open? B, is the victim breathing? C, check for circulation, heartbeat, at carotid pulse. D, check for hemorrhage or severe bleeding. Your daughter cuts her hand on the food processor blade while she was cleaning it. What's the first thing you should do? A, clean out the sink because it's full of spattered blood and it's making you nauseated. B, rinse out the wound with running water. C, call the doctor. Or D, control the bleeding. To control bleeding, you would apply direct pressure over the wound with sterile dressing or the cleanest cloth available. If the dressing becomes blood-soaked, add more on top. For severe bleeding, don't waste time looking for a dressing. Combine direct pressure with elevation. If elevation is unsuccessful, combine direct pressure with a pressure point such as the brachial or femoral arteries. Use a tourniquet only as a last resort. They're really needed. Your toddler spills a boiling pot of water on herself. What's your first reaction? Is it A, clean up the mess? B, mop the floor because she got it wet? C, call the doctor? Or D, run cold water over the burn until the pain subsides? What would you do? First-degree burns are superficial. They're affecting the skin's outer layer. Characteristics include redness, mild swelling, tenderness, and pain. Healing occurs without scarring within a week. Proper treatment of a first-degree burn is to apply cold until the pain stops for about 5 or 10 minutes. And please avoid over-the-counter ointments such as butter, margarine, or petroleum jelly. Next slide. Percentages of years of potential life lost to injury, cancer, heart disease, and other diseases before age 65. Heart disease is 16.4%, cancers is 18%, and all other diseases are 24.8%. Injury is 40.8%. Our goal is for all high school students to be certified in a first aid and CPR. If anyone here felt uncomfortable with any of the scenarios we've just shown you, make it a goal for yourself to get certified. Don't be unprepared. Don't let someone you know become a statistic. Be a lifesaver.
We'll go on without it. Oh, there we go. All right. So you heard some statistics. You heard and probably heard a good reason why you want to have students and the general public in Napa be certified in first aid and CPR. Let me share with you a story that was shared with our project group about 10 months. Well, not 10 months ago. Excuse me. When we became a project group. Let me share with you this story we heard. Imagine about 10 or 11 months ago, a warm summer evening. About the time most of us folks are heading home from work. An accident has just happened. 2 high school teens head-on into an oak tree. 2 cyclists came riding by, only to find 3 of us, Napa residents, standing, wondering what to do. The driver, broken arm, lacerations of the face, shocked and scared. The passengers, severe lacerations of the face, and severed carotid artery. Okay. Cyclist took charge, yelled out, "Call 911, towels, I need towels. People, I need in the car, I need in the car." They got in the car, they performed the primary survey, and they actually saved a life. These 2 individuals are alive today. It seemed like forever, they said, before the EMTs arrived, but they are alive. The thing that our group asked us is, what was scarier, the story and seeing the injuries or visualizing the injuries, or was it scarier seeing 3 of us, Napa residents, standing watching these injured people, not knowing what to do? And that's where we came up with our idea, our Project Rescue. We developed, as was stated earlier, a program to hopefully have individuals starting in the high schools certified in first aid and CPR. To deal with the elderly and the youth, we will all get old. So we will all be elderly at some day. And to help this community out, we were thinking that if we could start focusing at the youth, it will service both the elderly and the youth at the same time. We came up with a proposal package. What this Project Rescue does is it goes through a curriculum development. It tells what's needed as far as getting your staff at your site, whether it be business, school, certified in teaching this on site, and then actually getting people certified. The 2 pilot programs that we're excited about, because besides just coming up with this packet to hand people, we wanted to get it implemented. We're starting 2 pilot programs in the valley here. One is in concrete. It will be starting in fall at the Vintage High School. The thing we're wrapping up right now as we're speaking is funding for that. Teachers, administrators, reorganization of the school as far as where it's going to be taught has been done. That's being implemented. Funding for that is being worked on right now through multiple foundations that we're working with. The second pilot program, Vintage, will be implemented in fall '93 is our goal, and we think it will happen. The second pilot program is at Redwood Middle School, and that hopefully will be in spring. We're still working on logistics there, but we think that's right now a great start. And as you can see from the pictures and in the statistics, and like Amy was saying, the first person on the scene is a citizen. And what we thought was, hopefully we won't have a situation in the future where 3 of us, Napa residents, are just standing and watching. Okay. And Mike has something to share with us.
Thank you, Aaron. We didn't introduce ourselves as we started. Amy Gunn was our first speaker. Beth Marcus, our second. Aaron Cerrone, who, by the way, was one of the cyclists at the scene who took action. And he has more than a passing interest in seeing that others, instead of standing on the wayside, will take part and help. I'm Mike Kaufman, and you've seen the lighter part of the show. What we will do now is explain how we got to this particular program, what went into it. We dedicate this particular portion to our other fellow teams who did such magnificent work, to leadership past who will remember, and hopefully to any future leadership members, so they will know how it is that a program like this and a project like this comes to fruition. Now, quite a while ago, seems like years, we formed our team. It was exciting. Could we have the lights, please? I think we need to go through this. And the first slide, we were wired. I mean, it was exciting. We didn't know which way to go, but as Grim says there, we got to start drinking decaf because we were on overload. And yet, We didn't know what kind of a project to choose. We just didn't know. We went back to the leaders of leadership, and they came with their incredible guidance. Next slide, please. And they said, focus. We took that back with us, and we focused, and we focused, and we focused so much we lost our peripheral vision, and if we felt trapped, and this next slide will show you, we didn't know how to get out. We didn't know. Again, we asked for guidance, and the next slide will show. Leadership again gave us succinct guidance. They said, think. And as you see down here, it says, we pondered, and it says, what do you suppose it means? And the next slide, please. Many people came forward to give us advice. And we welcomed them with open arms. Next slide, please. Sometimes we felt weighed like the earth was on our shoulders. We really had a problem. But then, as the next slide will show, our mentor, Jack, who is in the back here, one of the guys, however, at our meetings, he did like to be served cookies and milk, but we valued his input. The next slide. Getting to yes. Our Bible, we took from it at our meetings, and this is how our meetings went. Almost all of our group, at one time or another, requested that the others don't talk while we're interrupting. Getting to yes will be with us forever. The next slide, please. Our projects, we had a number of choices, and every time we got a hold of one, it seemed like it was a little bit too big to grasp. And we just couldn't, we couldn't deal with it. Next slide, please. How to motivate. We went back to leadership, and the leaders of leadership again came forward and showed us the right way. Next slide. We had other projects. They just didn't seem to come together. And we just couldn't deal with it. Next slide, please. This is Maggie Kelly, our missing member. We did tremendous amounts of research, and as Aaron and I were talking one day, we said, she must be in here somewhere. I hear sobbing. Our project, we dealt with a lot of paper. Next slide, please. The environment of our different projects were unique, and sometimes they had unexpected results. As you can see in this one, he's grown a foot since I last saw him. So we had to reject some of our proposed projects. Next slide, please. Until we actually decided tension mounted. We were waiting for a finger on the button because we knew time was growing short. And we really had a difficult time dealing with the tension. Next slide, please. We learned over the period of months to wear many hats. And this is not just Aaron, it's all of us. Next slide, please. Toward the end, somebody would say, how's the project? And we were so sick of hearing how the project was that we never wanted to hear that name again. But as the team came together, as all of your teams came together, it was somewhat magical because if you take this picture and you turn it upside down, you have the results as you all feel tonight. Next slide, please. And that is the genesis of our project. We dedicate it to all of you who worked so hard this year. Thank you very much.